All right, so today we're going to talk about how to create survey questions. So you'll remember, yes, Gabe? What should we do when?
When we've made it.
When you've made the survey questions? I think that I'm going to have you all fill out a form at the end of this lesson before we start the next lesson on your questions. But today in class, we're actually going to learn a little bit about techniques for writing good questions as well. So last night, because I had not had your previous form send you your answers, if you had filled out the form about questions, I had it send you back those. And I sent those back to you. But you're going to probably improve them after today's lesson, so you probably won't send the same exact 3 questions, although they may influence the questions that you write today. All right, so the first thing that we are going to do is review what people added to the need to know from day 1 of our unit. Then we're going to watch a couple videos, they're very short, on writing good questions. And we're going to practice fixing bad questions, just in case any of you had some less than good questions that you submitted before. We'll practice fixing them, and then we'll write our survey questions. And that doesn't sound like a lot, and it's actually not that much. That's why we're going to probably start day 3 today. All right, so I have a couple slides on what do we need to know, and I just realized that didn't go there. These are from your class and also from my 8th period class. There are a lot of good ideas on here, but what I bolded are the ones that actually address the question, what do we need to know in order to answer the driving question? So a lot of you guys gave good information, and the ones that are not bolded are also good information, but just to try to steer you towards the kinds of things we're looking for when we do a need to know, I have bolded some. So I'm going to read some of the bolded ones. What do we need to know? How to create an unbiased poll. How to create clear questions anyone can understand. And these are things that we're going to talk about today. We need to know who's taking the poll, what issues could be relevant to them, how the person might feel, what their opinion is on the surveys, and do the surveys apply to them. I need to know what the issue is, how many people have voted on the issue, that's going to be important, and if I'm trying to change people's opinions with the sample surveys. Did you know that sometimes when they survey, they're actually not interested in your opinion, they're just trying to sway your opinion? Have you ever heard this? Like sometimes they'll do political surveys on the phone, and on the survey they'll say, what do you think of candidate A's position on this issue? And they'll go on and describe it in very swayed terms to make you feel like you agree with them on this. And they're actually not even interested in your opinion, they're just trying to spread maybe not misinformation, but maybe misinformation about that candidate. So that is something that happens. What do we need to know? How to collect data from a random selection of people to avoid bias. And this is going to be our biggest challenge because the best ways of sampling are also the hardest ways of sampling. We need to know how we can properly collect data from polls and collect information about people. In order to do so, we would need to make a poll with no bias. We need to know who is taking the survey. We need to know how these polls are going to be measured and how do we create the data to show the results, who we are surveying, age, gender, nationality, etc., how many people we are surveying, how to gather info on people for the survey, Google form, go to person, and what we will do with the data. And some of those technicalities, we'll be discussing those in the 3rd lesson, which we're going to probably get to today. We need to know who our audience is, as well as the problem we want to answer, the background information. The most important information we need to know to answer the driving question is what issues are important to people, and we need to know an effective way to survey them and a relevant way to present the results. We need to know what public issues we need to inform. So those were all of the ideas that came from 2nd and 8th period classes that really fall under need to know. The other ideas are included here if you want to go back to them because they are good ideas. They just don't really address that question. So just to remind you, our driving question is how could you as a pollster use surveys and samples to inform people about public issues on policy, public opinion on policy issues? And that actually was the need to know question. It should have gone before all the need to knows. So we're going to listen to a little video on writing good questions, and I'm just going to check my volume. Yep, my volume's up.
Good survey questions. Hi, I'm Dr. Nick, and I'm going to talk about the questions you ask in a questionnaire or survey. This video follows on from another video, Designing a Questionnaire. These ideas are also useful for critiquing a questionnaire or survey. It is very important that the questions in a questionnaire are well written to find out what you want to know and to avoid bias or non-sampling error. There are different types of questions. Open questions let the respondent say what they like, while closed questions give respondents a choice of response. Open questions are useful when you do not know how people are likely to respond, or when you want to avoid influencing their response. But open questions can be very difficult to analyse, as there are so many different ways that they can be answered. You might think that it is easy to ask good questions in a questionnaire, but it isn't. You want to make it as easy as possible for the respondent to give you the information you want. To start with, the questions should be as short as possible. Questions need to have correct spelling and grammar. Questions should use language appropriate to the subject and the people you are asking. If you are asking experts, you can use technical language, but generally you need to keep the language simple. It is usually better to ask what a person did in a certain instance or over a certain period of time than for them to recall in general what happens. But you need to be realistic about what you can expect people to remember. And you need to define your terms. It is important to have just one idea in a question. If there are two ideas, use two questions. It is better to ask questions in positive terms if possible. Avoid a double negative, as that can be very confusing. In closed questions, you need to be careful about the alternatives you provide. You need to make it clear whether the person is supposed to choose one alternative or as many as they wish. And you need to make sure that the alternative choices do not overlap, and that they cover the whole range of alternatives. Often a category "other" can be used for alternatives you might have missed. You want to avoid influencing people's response, which can lead to non-sampling error, so you need to word the question as neutrally as possible. You need to be careful if you are asking a question that may be personal or upsetting. As we described in our previous video, it is very important to check your questions with a pilot survey, as this will identify potential problems. The more effort you put into devising the questions, the better quality data you will get. This video was brought to you by Statistics Learning Centre. Visit our website.
Okay, so there's actually a lot of information in that little video. Raise your hand if there is one thing that stood out to you that you remember.
If you're going to make open-ended question, make the question short.
Yeah, and for your surveys, I'm going to actually suggest that you don't make an open-ended question because it's very hard to report on and analyze the results to that. Basically, everybody has a different answer, so you can't really graph anything there. But yes, you're right about that. What else stood out to you? So it might be a video that you go back and watch on your own before you, before you write your questions, because there were a lot of really good ideas in there. Go ahead, Kyle.
A lot of the stuff in here is from my psych class.
Oh, good.
Because it talks about a lot of stuff on sampling bias and I really agree with
Yeah, that's great. Has anybody else taken psychology? Yes. Do you remember hearing the same things? That's good. All right, Gabe had something to add. Go ahead, Gabe.
What does it mean by
Overlapping answers, that's a good question. So, for example, a very common one in asking about a person's race, they often ask if you are white or black or Hispanic. Hispanic is actually an ethnicity. And so people who are Hispanic might be Hispanic and white or Hispanic and black. And then also there are people who are mixed race, right? And so, so that could be overlapping. So you wouldn't want to ask just that way. You would also want to give an opportunity for one or more races or separate ethnicity from race in there. So you want to make sure that your answers overlap. Okay, that was a great question. What else stood out to you? Or do you have a question on from the video? Julia.
You said that if there's two ideas in a question, just make it two questions.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, so if you have an idea that seems complicated, you might need to separate that into two different questions. And yet you're going to be asking 3 questions, so that shouldn't be a problem.
So when asking like if you prefer Chick-fil-A over McDonald's, be like 2 questions, like do you like this? Or do
No,
you
that sounds like 1 question to me. That's a good example. MJ.
Remember in the question, you said to stay positive,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw the example of Ruth, but I remember Ruth on the other, that's not Ruth.
Oh, interesting. Can you tell me the example that they used?
It was like, so the example was like, do you agree with so-and-so?
Do you agree with this statement? Uh-huh.
Yes, and I remember reading that, if you form the question like that, then the answer is like that.
That's interesting. So yeah, that's something to pay attention to. I think that they actually both make good points, and we're gonna see another short video, it's even shorter than this one, on the Likert scale. And the Likert scale is pretty much like when you rank how much you agree with something. So like, I agree strongly, I disagree strongly with that. Good morning. Kyle, why don't you scooch over one since we're not working in a group anymore? They just presented this morning.
It was very nice.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that was a short video. There was a lot of information in that, and you might decide that you want to listen to that one more time. See, it was only 3 minutes and 24 seconds before you write your questions today. So here's another video on the Likert scale, just like we said. Actually, I think it's the Likert scale. Likert scale, because they said lick. Oh, this one is super quiet. Okay. I'm going to read to you what it says on the screen. So that says, don't say Likert, say Likert. It's a person's name, that's why. Rensis Likert. And he's the one who created this. Let's quantify feelings. So here's the statement, I love ice cream. They're going to ask you to rate how much you agree with it. So 1, strongly disagree. 2 is disagree. 3 is neutral. 4 is agree. Oops, I want to go back. And 5 was strongly agree. So think about your answer to that because I'm going to ask you. I love ice cream. Raise your hand if you strongly disagree. Excellent decision there. All right, raise your hand if you disagree with I love ice cream. Do you see how I influenced you there? Now you're not even allowed to disagree. All right, but you are allowed to be neutral.
Question. So
Yes.
If it's specifically saying I love ice cream,
Uh-huh.
and you couldn't you think about it as I don't love ice cream, but you like it, so you put disagree?
Yeah, so it's not very specific, is it?
Yeah.
Right. So how about neutral? Raise your hand if you're neutral. So I see some of you are neutral on I love ice cream. Agree on I love ice cream. And strongly agree on I love ice cream. Okay. All right, do you feel like this scale gave you enough options? No? You wanted more options than that? And Kenneth pointed out that maybe if you just like ice cream, it's hard to interpret that question. And do you remember in the last video, they said you might want to try out your questions before you do your whole survey? When you're writing your questions today, maybe ask a few people around you the question to make sure that there's nothing they misunderstand in the question. Okay? All right. So I'm going to play the video a little bit more. There's not much more in it, and like I said, it's super quiet, so I'm reading it to you. Okay, I have a favorable reaction to emoji survey answers. They're easy to understand. So you can add emojis to your answer. Strongly disagree can be an angry face, disagree a frowny face. Neutral is that face with a straight line. Agree is a smiley face, and strongly agree, that's when they smile with their teeth. All right, so that was about it. That's the Likert scale, which I was saying Likert, but they said don't say Likert, say Likert. Okay, so we're gonna do kind of like a partner thing where there's gonna be 3 different questions, and I'm gonna ask you to talk to a partner or a couple people about how you would fix these. And Wyatt, will you come partner with Mohammed, please? And then Jenny and Kyle, I see your partners. And then Kamar, you can talk with Mubarak and Adam, okay? Yes. All right, so I'll read you the questions, and then of course you can go over them one at a time. What's wrong with this question? Was the product easy to find, and did you buy it? And so let's think about how you can fix that. The next one is, how was our service today? Okay, good, fantastic, unforgettable, mind-blowing. And the third one is, what problems do you have with the design team? So go through them one at a time and discuss what's wrong with it and if you could fix it. If I don't need your computer, you can just switch over for a minute. Yes. That sounds good. Okay. Yeah.
Where is Mohammed?
Oh, right there. All right, so some of you finished early and took a little break on your phones. Let's set your phones down, but remind me to give you a break, probably between lesson 2 and 3, okay? All right, so the first question is, was the product easy to find and did you buy it? Raise your hand if you can tell us what's wrong with that question. See a few hands. A few hands, that's good. Good. All right, Gabe, what are you thinking? Should be 2 different questions. Who agrees with that? Did anybody have something to add to it? Adam?
It's very open-ended.
It's very open-ended. That can be difficult to record your responses to, right? Yeah, go ahead.
When making 2 questions, you could say, if applicable, did you buy it? Because not everyone buys stuff when they go places.
True. So there would have to be like a not applicable answer choice there. Good. Anybody else want to address how could you fix it? Anybody want to give me 2 different questions we could ask there?
You could just say, how easy was the product to find on a scale of like 1 to 5?
Oh yeah.
And then, did you buy it, yes or no?
Very good.
Or no.
Right, yeah.
No.
See, I love how those answers came together there. Very good. All right. What is wrong with this question? How was our service today? I already see 1 hand. I'm wondering who else has something to add. I'm seeing a few hands. This is great. All right, Adam, what are you thinking?
Probably, because they're, like, that first option just says like, okay, they're assuming that the service is at least okay, which is like,
Right.
it's like some sort of bias, so you could have like, not good if it's awful, if you don't care.
Okay, so you have to give a full range of options there. Very nice. Raise your hand if you want to add to that. MJ.
Notice that out of 5 options, 4 of them are mainly positive.
Yeah. Yes.
Those are not.
And they're out of order? Yeah, so it's kind of hard to even know, like, what's better, unforgettable or mind-blowing? We're just fantastic fit in that. Like, they all kind of seem the same, right?
They're all synonyms.
They're all what?
Like synonyms of each other.
Synonyms, yeah. Yeah, so that would be very difficult to differentiate. Although, if you ask people how was our service today and these were the only choices, then you could advertise that 90% of people thought that the service was either mind-blowing, unforgettable, fantastic, or good. Yes.
If you were taking this in the paper surveys,
Uh-huh.
you could put an LY to the end of mind blowing and then put bad at the end.
Right. So hopefully that won't happen to you in your surveys if people create their own answers, because that's difficult to deal with, but yes, that would be a creative way to deal with that problem. All right, anything else that you guys want to add to that one? How could you fix it? I'm sorry, yes, go ahead.
Add a better range of opinions.
Yeah, so add a better range of opinions, and you might also just want to do like a scale for that, like excellent, from like very bad to excellent, you know, in a 5-point scale on that. All right. Last one, what problems do you have with the design team? Raise your hand if you want to tell us what's wrong with that. Ireland.
It's way too open-ended.
So it's too open-ended. That's definitely one of the things that's wrong. And what's another one?
The person who made the survey hates the design team.
Yeah, so you can already tell the bias of the surveyor too. So 2 things that are wrong there. Kyle, did you have something to add to that? Okay, go ahead.
You can say, are there any design, or that way
Can you repeat that? Are there any issues with the design team that might be more neutral? Good. And Adam has a suggestion too.
Yeah, kind of like the first question too, like that, non-applicable option.
Uh-huh.
If you didn't have any problems.
Right. Right. Definitely you could add an NA there. What else?
You can have it change the question and make it go, how satisfied are you with it?
Oh, I like that.
Don't make it satisfied with it.
Yeah, so MJ says do a Likert scale for how satisfied are you with the design team. I like it. All right, those are all excellent ideas. Thank you for sharing those. Okay, let's see what's next for us. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, I think we're gonna spend maybe 10 minutes coming up with 3 good questions. I'm hoping that you have a starting point, but not every student completed the 3 questions last time we did this, which was like 2 classes ago. So if you didn't, you have a little bit farther to go. There is a form there, and on the form, it's gonna ask you to put questions and also answer choices. So the answer choices might be a scale, or the answer choices might just be like a multiple choice, or it might be yes and no. That's fine too. Remember that your question should revolve around one issue. So you're thinking about an issue that's important to you, and then you're asking people's opinions on certain aspects of that issue. Okay? So you don't want to just like ask random questions like, what's your favorite car? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite vacation spot? You actually want to have some cohesion here for your questions so that they have to do with an issue that's important to you. Okay, so I'm gonna try, actually we'll do 13 minutes till 9 o'clock and then I'll check in to see how you guys are doing, okay?